In the fall of 1998, the small town of Ravenwood, Oregon, experienced an event that has baffled locals and researchers for decades. It started with a stranger, a man in his late 40s, dressed in an old-fashioned brown suit and carrying a weathered leather suitcase, walked into town just after sunset. He had no car, no traveling companions, and no visible signs of where he had come from. The first person to interact with him was Martha Holloway, a waitress at the town's only diner. She recalled that he seemed dazed, almost confused. He took a seat at the counter and ordered black coffee. Then, in a low and deliberate voice, he asked a peculiar question. "What year is it?" Martha laughed, thinking it was a joke. But when she told him it was 1998, his face went pale. He whispered something under his breath, words she couldn't quite make out, before quickly leaving the diner. He was last seen walking toward the edge of town, toward the thick woods that bordered Ravenwood. The next morning, his abandoned suitcase was discovered deep in the forest by two hikers. The authorities were called in, and what they found inside made the story even stranger. The suitcase contained neatly folded clothes, a pocket watch from the early 1900s, and a single black and white photograph. It was a picture of Ravenwood, but not as it looked in 1998. The streets were different, the buildings older. When they examined the photograph more closely, they noticed something chilling. Standing in the middle of the street was the very same man who had just arrived in town the night before. Local historian Peter Langley recognized the photograph immediately. It was taken in 1923, nearly 75 years earlier. Digging through town records, he found an even more disturbing detail. There was a mention of a man named Daniel Whitmore, who had lived in Ravenwood in the early 1920s. According to reports from the time, he had mysteriously disappeared one evening and was never seen again. His last known sighting? The night he walked out of town toward the woods. What happened to Daniel Whitmore? Did he somehow travel through time, only to return decades later? Was he caught in a loop, endlessly appearing and disappearing? Or was it all some elaborate hoax? To this day, no one knows. The only thing the people of Ravenwood can say for sure is this: after that night, no one ever saw the man in the brown suit again.